What if I tell you that your company can leverage AI and innovation without you being a developer and without you knowing how to develop a single line of code? Well, that's the big innovation behind vibe coding. And in this episode, we're going to have a look together at what vibe coding is, how your company can use it successful in order to innovate, and also how you can easily start. My name is Federico. I have a past as a startup founder, and now I help companies use technology to grow and innovate. So what is vibe coding? Vibe coding is a fairly new definition which has been created in February of this year, and I'm talking in 2025, which means that basically you can give your prompt to a machine, to a platform, and then later on we're going to look together at what platforms. And then using text, you can tell what you want to create. So you can launch, for example, a platform, you can launch an app, you can launch a website or an automation. So all these things work this way. You just describe what you want to create. The machine will then turn that text that you insert into prompt. And then based on this prompt, the third step is that the machine is going to create for you something which is in line with what you have described. Well, if this sounds revolutionary, it's because it really is. It means that no one anymore needs to be a developer in order to create digital tools that they can use in their daily life. You can think of like personal projects, like, for example, a calendar that you use at home. But you can also really think of like tools that help you make the quality of your work better, that make it easier, and that help you be more productive. So I'm going to show you what is vibe coding, how it works, and how you can start using it. Because you see, the big strategy shift is also that for many, many years, innovation was mainly for larger companies, right? Because only larger companies had the budgets and the time to have teams dedicated to innovation. Whereas with this shift, this means that basically everyone in one afternoon can start developing something that they could use, for example, for the work. For example, tasks that you can automate, or maybe a tool that bridges two tools that you're already using or combines them so that you don't have to continuously shift, right? So again, this really means that everyone can work in innovation. Everyone can spend their time to try to make their life easier, even if you have a small budget or a small amount of time, or both. So the way that I see this wave is that it will really help a lot of companies, also small, medium companies, to create tools that are tailored on their needs instead of, out of box tools that are standardized for everyone. If you think of your specific case, chances are that if you look at your CRM or email marketing automation tool, you're probably using the same exact tool that a lot of other companies are using, whereas your needs might be very unique. So with vibe coding, the big difference is that you can now start using tools that you create for yourself, so that are tailored to the needs and the flow of your specific situation. But how does it really work? And is it really that simple? Well, yes, it is, but also with some limitation that we're going to discuss together. Again, when I'm talking, there's mainly a couple of bigger platforms that people use when it comes to vibe coding. The two ones that I have used and that I recommend you can have a look at are Replit and Lovable. And for example, what you can see is that with Replit, and I want to show you a concrete product that I have built myself that will possibly inspire you on things that you can do with vibe coding. So for example, if you go to Replit, what I have done, I have asked AI to build for me a tool that combines different things that I use with my Studio Sparker. So for example, in my case, I needed something to combine both a CRM functionality and a task management functionality, which is what on one side, say how I manage new prospects and also how I manage the work that I get from new clients that I have. And that's how it worked. So I typed here my prompt in this left column. And then on the right, you can see the new tool that has been created for me by Replit. So this tool has email, calendar, task. Now, what are the limitations of this? Since you have to talk to a machine and the machine will have to process your input, you must imagine that this costs time and resources somewhere, right? It will usually take a certain amount of credit for platforms to process the input that you give. So it's not really like you can spend, your all of the time just with trials and errors. I mean, you can, but it's likely to result into a high cost for you. So my recommendation would be that you first go on a platform like, for example, ChatGPT, or well, what I've seen works best for this one is Copilot from Microsoft. There, you try to describe what you want, and you also ask Copilot to create for you a description that you can copy paste into Replit or into Lovable. This is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of credits as well, and it's going to make your life way easier when it comes to getting clarity from the platform on what is it that you need. Because again, Copilot has a tendency to better understand what is it exactly that you're trying to communicate to them. And for example, if you like other tools or other platforms that you have seen, you can also ask them to replicate a screenshot of that platform. But as you can see, this is making innovation extremely fast. So again, in one afternoon, everyone can go on a platform like Replit, tell them what they need, like, for example, create for me a CRM, a platform that blends CRM functionalities with a ticketing system, task track, project track, connected to invoices, right? And then you can start to have all the functionalities that you use within one tool without having to pay multiple subscriptions. So the thing with AI and vibe coding especially is that it opens the way to new wave of efficiency on one side, but also experiments and innovation, which hopefully will make all of our work way more fun and more interesting so that we can really focus on things that matter and try to avoid routinary tasks. So let's have a look at like two use cases, for example. One we already discussed, right? How to create a tool that kind of bundles all the tools that you're using. But that's kind of like the extreme. You can obviously play with that, and you can also create small widgets. You don't have to create a huge tool for yourself, but you can also think of like something like create for me a QR code generator that is also connected to my analytics. So this way you can have in your analytics every time that someone clicks on a QR code. This kind of innovation is likely to be very relevant for small companies that have a physical location, a shop, or a restaurant. And without paying a huge bill to Bitly or companies like that, you can create your own QR code and have an insight onto how many people are scanning it. The second innovation that you can think of is to orchestrate all of your digital marketing activity. Like, for example, starting with content creation. You can then ask an agent to, once the content is ready, repurpose it for each different platform so that it will recreate a different text based on the text that you have already created for each different platform. And this way, repurpose that content for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for Twitter. And then once the content is ready, to generate an image for that or attach the image that you already had. And then after that is ready to publish on every different platform. You can also add an extra step where you ask, well, based on everything, create the content for my newsletter. And within this newsletter, create links to each one of my social media, and then send the email. And obviously 10,000 variations of that, right? If you're not sending text and images, you can also start from a video and ask it to repurpose your video for all the different platforms that you have. So for example, you can ask AI to take your video content, repurpose it from different platforms based on tone of voice, based on size, and then create a description that fits each one of these platforms, and then reshare this video on each one of these platforms. And again, you can create a newsletter at the end that nudges people to go on your channels, on your platforms, and then have a look at these videos. But vibe coding is not just about creating new tools. Vibe coding is also about creating automations and agents. What that means is to create something that automates parts of your work. So you can tell, for example, to AI to send a reminder to someone every time you have, for example, sent an email and not heard back after 3 months. Or, for example, if you are moving a contact to a new column of your CRM system, say, for example, that lead gets from cold to warm. So you really want to make sure that you have constant interaction with that lead. Well, then you can remind yourself to send articles to that person, but you can also instruct AI to scout the internet and look for interesting articles that could be relevant to you for that person, and then send these articles in an email that AI will create. This way you can start automating 4 different steps of account-based marketing, and you can do it really all with AI. Now, to make your life easier, I have put together a quick guide that helps you how to get started with vibe coding and also how to do it without burning all of your credits. You find it in the show notes or clicking on the link that you find here. And if you like this episode, don't forget to give it a like and share it with your audience. To the next time.